Do I look
Okay.
okay?
You look phenomenal. Yeah, I've never seen you look that. So whatever. Whatever.
Yes, and this is why I don't face the world before like 9 a.m. I just don't, because it's for the
You know
greater
what that
good.
reminds me of? Way
What?
back when. Now I get up at 5 in the morning. I get up ridiculously early.
I'm
But back
sorry,
in the
that's
day,
just sick.
back in the day when I was married, I was
Mhm.
one of those people that like, and I think a lot of us do it, where I work like ridiculous hours. So during the week, you're getting like 4 hours a night. And
Right?
then on Saturday and Sunday,
You kind of
if
try
you
to make
get
up for it.
anywhere near me before noon,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going to die. Right. So one of my husband's friends showed up this one Saturday at like my ex-husband got up early
Yep.
and his friend showed up at like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 a.m. And they're like talking in the living room, and our bedroom was right upstairs. And I came downstairs, and my husband just looked at him. You come here this early, you deal with it. Like there's no way I looked professional or anything. And I was like, I don't care. Why are
Yeah.
you in my house? Like, why are you talking?
Right? I know. Yeah, I had a similar thing happen a couple of months ago. Saturday morning, I'm in bed. I think we were out fairly late the night before too, so I was in no condition to be functional or anything. And the doorbell rings. Nobody ever rings the doorbell anymore. I mean, that's just a thing. And so Sean goes to the door and he opens it up, and it's a friend of ours that I hadn't seen in ages, but apparently he had seen the night before. I did not know that. And she was like, oh, you're just yapping at the door, and they're having a little chat. And I'm in bed going, why is she here right now? Am I going to have to be expected to get up and like talk to her and, do this kind of thing? And then she says, yeah, and I brought an accordion for you. Apparently they had discussed this the night before. I'm like, you came to my house at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday with an accordion? Who does that?
Okay, no one.
Right? Right? I mean, without context, it made zero sense to me. And I was a little sleep addled to begin with. It's like it was just weird. Weird.
I just lost my post-it note. Could you tell that look of panic on my face? So
I'm still shuffling stuff around my desk because I just have, this is the classic Zoom situation or, camera situation, right? Where everything from here up looks reasonably professional and well angled and all that kind of thing. There, let's fix that. But when you look down at the desk, it's a whole other animal of like stuff.
Honey,
But yeah,
you know
right?
how many times this is how I discover what the cats have knocked on the floor behind me. I don't know how many times I turn on the camera and say, what is that?
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's made it into videos because I didn't notice fast enough. It's like, yes, that is a random cardboard box. Don't you have cats?
Right? Exactly.
They are all cat toys. I'm sorry. They can't just be recycled right away. They have to put in their playtime.
That's right. They have to serve their time. I had an egg carton on the floor in the kitchen for about a week.
Right.
And it's like, because it's not mine anymore. It's hers. That's hers to play with. And when she's done with it, then I can throw it in the recycling.
Exactly. This is the rules. We know these rules.
House rules with cats. House rules with cats. If the cat is in your lap, you do not get up.
Yep. For anything.
Unless it's an absolutely desperate bathroom situation, then you're allowed, and then you'll still get filthy looks if you do that.
Yep.
But yeah. That's basically rule number one. So if you're living with someone of the human persuasion and you have a cat in your lap, the rule is they must wait on your hand and foot.
Yes.
That's just cat house rules.
Cat. Yeah, right. Can't disturb the cat. How mean are you? Like,
right?
Oh my God. Who would do that?
What kind of a monster?
Right? Okay, let's do this.
All right.
I am so freaking excited to do the new Path podcast with you. Really formally. I don't know about you, and I guess I'm going to ask this first. Like, I do a lot of videos. I do a lot of events and seminars. And of course I get excited. I love my career. I love the people I meet. Yeah. But for some reason, I don't know what it is yet. I was really excited about doing this to the point, and I think you'll know what I mean, we're excited, almost scared,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
it's that fine line between anxiety and fear and excitement, and you're not
Yeah,
entirely sure where it's landing.
because excitement and anxiety feel the same,
Yeah,
right? It's
I
that
feel it in my stomach.
unnerving.
It's that
Yeah,
butterflies in the stomach kind of
couldn't
thing, and it's
sleep,
just
work beans,
yeah,
right? And I think this is a guess. Like I said, I don't know the reason yet. If it ever lands on me, I'll be happy to share. But I think it's because I think our conversations are not only going to resonate with so many people, they can help. They're going to help, right? With
oh, I would
seeing
love that.
how, right? Seeing how real we are,
Yeah,
hearing that we laugh through our challenges,
yeah,
because I know we both do that we have them,
yeah,
that we
and
don't
we're
live
willing
in
to
some,
admit to them.
right. And well, and that's the other thing, that no matter what we have or what we've achieved, we're real.
Yeah,
Like, this is it.
yeah.
Human Muppet. This is what you get in a video, in a coffee shop. Millie
Yeah.
can attest to this. We've done coffee shops. Um, I'm the one that sends the email with the subject line, "I've got a crazy idea."
And I'm the one who jumps on it right away going, I love
Right?
it.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I just think this is going to be amazing. So I thought we'd start off with something fun, and I didn't tell you about this, and I'm sorry.
All right, lay it on me. What do you got?
Okay, so obviously, first we have to introduce ourselves, because there might be some people that are watching this because they follow my YouTube channel, or they used to watch the old path, which we're
Yeah.
so past that now. I'll save that for the book and the seminar. It's not the podcast. Or it's your amazing social media following, because I saw the reaction to your post on Facebook, and I was
Yeah.
like, this woman is known by many people, which totally doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, it depends on what I'm posting. If I'm posting a food video or a cat post, boy, do I get likes and recognition from that. But yes, when I posted the little promo of this
Right?
of the Path podcast, I just put up the logo that you sent to me the other day, and all of a sudden the likes started rolling in. It's like, okay, I like this. This is good.
Right?
There's an audience for this. People
And
are interested in what we have to say together.
I looked at the people. I was totally creeping your Facebook
You're
page.
creeping my Facebook.
Totally. Owning it, real.
All right.
And I didn't know the names, which is exciting. So it's not, there was like a couple that we have mutual people
Sure.
in common, but
Yeah.
the fact that we both have two entirely different audiences
Yeah.
is exciting. It's
It
totally
is.
exciting.
Yeah.
Right. So what I thought would be fun.
Okay. Do I need to be afraid
you
now?
agree? Never. So
All
I
right.
thought I would introduce you
Okay.
as I see you.
Oh my.
Then I'm going to totally turn it over to you, and you can feel free to adjust, correct, add to whatever you
Okay.
would like to. And then you can do the same for me.
All
How's
right.
that sound? Okay, so this should be fun. For one, okay, so I suck at math. I'm not even gonna, I'm just gonna own that. I can't do mental math even with an adding machine. It's debatable. So I have no idea how long we know each other.
I was
Like,
thinking
it's a
about
long
this the other
time.
day. It's 20-ish easily.
Yeah, like
'cause
it's a
time goes
long,
by
like I was like,
so
I'm not
fast.
even sure where I was living, or not living, where I was working. But it was long before I left for Toronto. It was long, which means like I didn't start this company until I moved back from Toronto.
Okay.
And I've been doing this for 15 years.
Okay.
And I was gone for 5.
Okay. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure either, because some of my earliest memories of meeting you and meeting with you were with the old Thunder Bay Business Women's Network. And
Wow.
right, and that's the dearly departed, may it rest in peace.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, that's going back a long ways for sure.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like so many people in the Thunder Bay area district, which is where we both live, I first knew of you because you were the weather girl on the news.
Yeah.
And I loved you then. And okay, so total fairness, new people, kind of hang on to your desk for a second. People that follow my career know I'm a 10-year domestic abuse survivor. So I wasn't in a good place then. And I really admired empowered women, right? Like, I think in my mind, it was a lot of how in the world, like, how does she do that? How is she
Yeah.
so confident? How is she her? And that's the impression I had of you doing the news. Because even though I'm certain there were rules and boxes you had to live in, you came across as real. You came across as authentic. I actually believed you could live next door. So I loved that. So I loved you long before I even knew you. So
Aw.
and then I'm going to guess like Thunder Bay Business Women's Network, we definitely hung out.
Yeah.
Definitely talked finances a couple of times, but I swear to God, you know how like when you have an earthquake and the earth is like, that was like my financial stability back then. Right? So in April, I'm talking to you because I think I could come up with a plan by June. It's like, it was not going to happen. And full disclosure to people watching, Millie is my financial advisor now.
Yep.
All of these dreams I love ranting and raving about, Millie helps me make those happen and actually helps me believe I can do them. So we've just stayed in touch. Like, I mean, it's not like we see each other often.
No.
But when we do, like, it's like, hey, how are you?
Exactly.
Oh my God,
this is one of those, we pick up exactly where we left off kind
100%,
of relationships.
100%. Yeah. So that's how I know Millie. She's an amazing financial advisor. She's a great friend. She's awesome. And that's why I asked her to go on this crazy train with me. Aww. That is called the New Path Podcast. So over to you, Millie.
Oh my God. Okay. So Sandy, so my first memories of her were of you doing a presentation, I'm sure. Some little legion or hall somewhere in the bowels of Thunder Bay. And I just entirely possible. And I just remember you being so passionate about what you were saying, just having this inner fire that was coming out, and that you were so in your indigeneity, for lack of a better term, right? I mean, that's you've made that the core of who you are, and you've put that out for the rest of us for so long in a way that's so unapologetic and so powerful that it's just, this woman is interesting. You know, I really like what she's got to say. I really like how she's, I feel like my mic is cutting out, but I think it's my headphones. But I really just feel like she's got it figured out, you know, I know, right? Because and you're saying, you know, I look confident on camera. I know, exactly. Yeah. I did not have my shit figured out when I was on camera either. I was winging it 99% of the time. So I mean, and it's interesting how we can be vulnerable with each other now. And I'm sure that when we met, there was probably some part of each of us that recognized the authenticity in the other person.
100%.
Right. That's 100%. Kind of where that core of it is.
Yeah. So, and again, people who follow my work, no surprise here. So I had to do a lot of unpacking because I've come to realize being Indigenous and feeling like you're either not accepted or not going to be accepted by people who aren't, in some cases is 110% true. Yeah. And in some cases is internalized oppression. It's an assumption I'm making because I'm not there yet and I'm not comfy with who I am. But if you haven't figured out yet, viewers,
you're past
Millie
that.
is not Indigenous. And one of those relationships.
Yes, I believe the old term was pale face, and I am that.
I just got back from Mexico. I'd be way more pale.
It's winter in Canada. Everybody's pale.
Right? But this is one of those places, and I'm actually going to be doing one of my videos on it. an idea that just came to me. Millie's totally not surprised at
Write
that.
it down. Write it down.
Right, I did.
Okay, good.
But how there are so few places, and really trying to stress this for people who are not there. Now, there are so few places where an Indigenous woman can just be an Indigenous woman. As blunt as we are, as funny as we are, as I okay, this is going to sound bad to some people, but I know I was down in southern US, so this really got highlighted for me, where a lot of women are taught to be ladies, right? Be
Oh,
ladies.
yes.
And to me, it was like, okay, for one, that didn't happen. For two, I'm a warrior, not a lady. So, like, get away from me, right? And right? Don't like. I was thinking about this morning too. So there's Emily DeBaker. That's what her name is.
Okay.
She's a legal influencer on YouTube. She like makes sense of the legal cases that are going on often in the States, but
Right.
her intro to her videos, she says, and by the way, I'm a fan of the cursey words, which I think is just the cutest sentence ever. And I know we're both fans of the cursey words.
Yeah, so I'll have to behave myself if we want to not have the algorithm punish us
Kick
for
us
it.
right out of the YouTube universe. But that's part of that being real. And I don't, okay, I'm going to go off. We're going to go off on many tangents on this show. Just
Be
warning the
patient
viewers.
with us, especially with this first one, because we're just feeling out this. I'm sure at some point we'll both sound polished and professional, but today is probably not that day. So as long as we can all accept that and just go with it and just enjoy the ride. Finish folding your laundry while you're listening to this.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
keep
And
your
they
eyes on the
call
road.
me
It's fine.
optimistic. I don't even have that as a goal. That's so funny. But what I was going to say is, and I'm really curious if this has ever happened to you because you happen to be female as well.
Mhm.
I can't even count how many times I used a cursey word and had some guy get mad at me because women or ladies don't use those words. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I would say that.
Right?
I mean, my poor dad, for one, he would he gets his look on
Okay.
his face every time he hears an F-bomb come out of my mouth. And I get that because, that's his little girl, and that's
Right.
a slightly different vibe,
Yeah.
right? But I think there is certainly there has been this expectation that women are supposed to have it together and to control their emotions. And when you're letting F-bombs fly left, right, and center, that does suggest that you're not entirely in control of your emotions. So I can see where that vibe comes from. And at the same time, it's like, well, how come you're allowed to lose your stuff and I'm not? What's that about? How's that?
Did you
fair?
catch that, people? Lose your stuff.
Yeah. Subtle, eh?
That was amazing. I am so proud of you. Did anyone think she meant the word stuff?
Hey, I have got a whole set of, so you know how when you're typing out squares and you use like not emojis,
the asterisks,
all the asterisks and stuff.
Yeah.
I have specific spellings of those asterisks that I use for specific words. So it's like code. It's even better.
I want to start texting with you now. I can try to figure out the codes. I know which one she meant.
$, hashtag at exclamation point.
I think I know what that is. That's the one you just use stuff for. Yep. Yeah. Okay. That's amazing.
But I mean, this whole thing about, women shouldn't swear. I get that it's not professional to be seen to be losing control of your emotions.
And there's another thing though. And now it's really hard for even me to remember who I was, because now you said what to me? Right?
Well, you're not the good little corporate soldier that you were long ago, right?
Right. But I'm not intimidated. I'm not like shy and submissive and all, but makes me nauseous. But how many people assumed, and again, I don't know if this happened to you, but it really used to bug me, that I'm out with a group of friends and I use a cursey word, and suddenly people assume that I don't know not to do that at church or at work. It's like,
do you kiss your mother with that mouth kind of thing?
right?
But,
Like,
yeah.
it's like, hello, hello. And now, when someone, the other one I used to get is comments on how I dress.
Mm.
And it's like, you know what? 59 years old, figured it out.
Well,
I didn't
and
need your help getting dressed yesterday. I don't need it today.
We'll need it tomorrow.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing I wonder a little bit too is a lot of just confidence and being comfortable in your own skin and not caring what other people think. How much of that is purely a function of getting older and realizing that other people don't think of us nearly as often as we think they do. Like when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you're constantly in this fear state of everyone's looking at me and
100%.
everyone is wondering what I'm doing and
100%.
everyone is judging me. And once you start getting onto 50 and beyond, you realize that no, they're not, and no, they don't. And
You know
that's
what
very
I always say?
freeing.
This is the confidence I have now matches the body I had then.
Oh man, if yeah, right?
And
Oh,
the thing is, when I have conversations now, okay, I'm single. Millie's long time married, so different perspectives here. But when I talk to different guys, and they honestly think, like, we just have so many misconceptions about each other. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
They honestly think that at 17, 18, well, there's a good chance we look effing amazing. That we were confident. I was the most
Oh, no.
insecure ever. Like, did I laugh too loud? Did I laugh too soft? Did it sound silly? Like, you know,
It's
this
just, I get
outfit, like,
exhausted just thinking about all the energy we put into that. You know,
right?
there's nothing more anxiety ridden and fearful and self-conscious than a teenage girl, and there's nothing dumber than a teenage boy. No offense, guys, but you know it's true. A 15-year-old boy is just that's at their peak of dumb, and they only there's only upwards to go from there.
But
And
what
then
I
you've got
have,
teenage girls trying to figure out how to mold themselves to appeal to teenage boys, who are the
100%.
dumbest creatures on earth.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's not even teenagers. I mean, I was married 3 times. 3 different times I became a totally, completely
yes.
different version of Sandy, trying to be who they wanted me to be. And I'm not even going to say they demanded it. That
No.
was the path I chose.
That's right.
And
It's
even
also conscious too. Like
well,
some of it is anyway. I mean, it's yeah, subsumed
yeah.
into yourself.
Well, and here's the story for you. This was like one of those aha, eye-opening, my path just changed direction moments. I had my last husband and I sounds so horrible. Whatever. Had just split up literally like within weeks. My daughter was still in high school. She came home with a friend, right? Like coming after school to do homework, whatever.
Yep.
And they walked in the house, and I happened to be in the kitchen, which, okay, rare sighting, but I was in the kitchen, probably making coffee. That's as close as I do to anything in the kitchen. But I had music cranked, and I was kind of dancing as I was doing whatever I was doing in the kitchen.
Yep.
And my daughter's friend looked at her and asked, like, what the heck's with your mom? Right. And my daughter, now this still blows me away. My daughter, without batting an eye, without missing a beat, says, oh, that's my real mom, but you only get to see her when she's single.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, holy crap.
Very insightful and
Yeah.
devastating. That
she was like, that's the woman that raised
level.
me. Like, that's my mom, but you don't
Holy
get to see her.
cow.
And I was like, and
Wow.
that's the example I'm setting for my daughter, right? Realizing
Yeah.
it was my daughter saying it. It was
I'm just really impressed with your daughter that she
Right?
was so aware of and able to articulate that in that
Yeah.
moment too. It's just like, bang.
Yeah, another
Good for her.
misconception that we can hide anything from our kids.
Mm.
Okay. Trust me. Trust me. You better just talk about it because
Okay,
they
so
see,
here's the thing.
they know. Yeah.
They know. Here's the thing. I do not have children, right? I
Yep.
have a cat. I have nieces and nephews. That'll do me.
Yep.
But I genuinely think that as a society in general, we do not give kids enough credit. Even very little,
100%.
even very little children, they see more than we think they do. They know more than we think they do. They observe a lot, but they internalize it. And when they can't when they don't have the words or the ways to express it and deal with it, it stays inside,
Yeah.
and it comes out in some fashion, some therapist couch or something with any luck.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, little kids see a lot more than
Yeah.
we think they do.
And that reminds me of that quote I read a while ago. It was talking about children who were abused, right?
Yeah.
And they were saying, like, your kids don't grow up to hate you because you abuse them. They hate themselves because they believe they were so bad that you did that.
Yeah.
Right? That it led you to do that, like totally internalizing it. So I
Yeah.
told you we're going to go all over the map with this
And
thing.
then it got dark.
Laughing at cursey words to abuse. Like, holy moly. Before we move on, though, God only knows how long this one's going to last. Oh, it's going to last a while. And here I thought this was going to be the short episode.
Oh, okay. We're just on the intros yet.
Exactly. And the thing is, I'm going to lean on my Anishinaabe culture for my second, my Ojibwe culture. Like time limits, no, we go till the conversation's over. And sometimes it's going to be 10 minutes, and sometimes that might be an hour and 10 minutes. But it's like, rather than fitting in that box, because to me, that's not authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I did want to.
So different from the way that I think of time, right? Time,
oh, really?
Time is, oh yeah. Well, okay. I don't know if this is a particular, Dutch Calvinist work ethic, Protestant work ethic kind of thing, or it's just me, or if it's just, see, the thing is, white people are we're almost used to saying, well, we have no culture, because we don't see it for what it is, because it's the dominant culture, it's the mainstream culture. It's like, white Canada has a culture, but if those of us in it don't see it, the fish doesn't see the water that it's in. So when I think of time, time is in blocks, on my calendar, and I've got a calendar on the wall over there, and I've got a calendar on my monitor right here, and I've got a day timer on my desk, and it's all about, this thing fits into this block, and when this block is over, then you move on to the next block, and it's very linear, and it's very square, and that's just how time is, right? So I have to admit,
it clock worship.
Yeah, maybe.
But everything, when that big hand touches the 12, which, I mean, the younger viewers won't even know what that means, because it's not a digital clock.
I've got a little timing block that I could set up for.
God.
Right. So
I would give that to the cats.
If I wanted to do a specific thing, so if I want to practice my instrument, there's my 30-minute block. It's a timer. Yep. So you turn it on, and it blinks for whatever time amount you want to face up. So if I want it to at 60 minutes, I think the battery's dying on it, but it'll blink on there for a while, and then when it time's up, then it will beep, and then I know that time block is over. So this is literally a time block. And that's kind of how I run my life in a lot of ways. And I have to admit that I've found it frustrating when I've been in conferences or meetings or something where there has been an Indigenous cultural component, and there's an elder telling a story. And there's an elder telling a story, and the story seems to go on for a very, very long time. And it's just...
See, and I always tell my followers, listen to the story, because it's directly on point. But when you start thinking of the time, you're not paying attention anymore. Interesting. I have a day book. Mm-hmm. It's just those little annoying hours. They're cute. I highlight them every now and then. But my day is task oriented,
which is a better way of approaching it, really.
These 4 things today.
Yeah.
I might finish work at 3:00. I start at 5:30, so back up. Right? Or I might finish at 6 if I didn't get my 4 things done, but I'm getting my 4 things done. Because what I learned in that other realm when I was actually in corporate and a boss and with staff, and it actually blew my mind when it happened, but I have to give kudos to the staff person who taught me this. You can look really super busy and get diddly done.
Oh, absolutely. That's the motto of corporate Canada.
She was a master. Every time I went by her office, holy moly, that woman.
Papers everywhere.
Look how many things she's got going on. Yeah. Never got the report I needed.
Yep.
Never got the answer I needed. Yep. And you almost feel guilty asking because she's so busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I fell for it.
Well,
Hardcore
that's what a
fell
lot
for it.
of modern work is based on. It's based on the time, bum in seat,
Yeah.
for X amount of hours. Therefore, you went to work, right? And I think that's also the difference between being an employee and being self-employed or being entrepreneurs, as we both are,
There's what I was just going to touch on, because
right? Because we
9
can
to
work any
5ers
14
do
hours in
not
a day
get
we
me.
want.
Yeah, 9 to 5ers do not get me. By
No.
the way, here's a hilarious thing. And yes, I realize this is being released March 1st, but really today's Family Day.
Yeah, we're both working. Family Day, I mean, it's a great retail holiday, fine, but it is not a long-standing tradition that I feel I need to bow down
Well, and
to.
neither of us have kids at home, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
actually,
so
I didn't know until last night. A friend asked me, "So what are you doing tomorrow?" I thought it was awesome. He was interested in my work.
yeah,
So I listed off like the 4 things I'm accomplishing today, and he comes back with, "It's Family Day tomorrow." And I was like,
and
"Oh, that's cute." Those stats. I vaguely remember those stat holidays. What they mean is I
yeah,
get to work without email interruption
yeah, exactly.
because no one else is working.
And this is the thing too. When you're self-employed, worky, eaty. So
Right?
when you
Right?
have a job and there's a stat holiday, you're getting paid regardless of what you're doing. And I'll admit that was one of the nicest things I liked about having a corporate job when I did back in the day, because they
Yep.
paid me every 2 weeks, whether I deserved it or not. And some weeks
Exactly.
I deserved it double, and some weeks I deserved it not.
Yeah.
And
then the
yeah,
flip side of that was, and it didn't happen when I got to the top of the food chain, but when I was like middle management, you
yeah,
could be killing yourself
yep,
and someone in the same position is doing diddly and you
yep,
got paid the same.
yep,
And I think that's when I first started really leaning towards entrepreneurship. It's like, I'm going to decide the size of my bank account and
yeah,
I'm going to get compensated for how hard I work. Right.
yeah.
Anyone out there who thinks going into business is just easy breezy, lemon squeezy, you work 2 hours a day in your dreams.
I have a couple of cursey words for that.
She could type those out with those symbols.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what can I use
to
represent a B and an S?
Yeah, I know what word. Oh God, that's amazing. Okay, before we move on, do your formal introduction because people should know who you are.
Okay, for me. All right. So my name is Millie Gormley. I am a certified financial planner professional, and I have been in financial planning since 2006. I've been in financial services for over 20 years. And in addition to being a financial planner, which I love doing, and I like to think I'm pretty good at it, I also play the French horn. I've been an actor in community theater off and on for quite a few years. I used to be on the weather, and I used to be on local radio for quite a few years as well. And I am self-employed, and I love my life. I mean, I love what I do. I love how I'm doing it. And just even in the last few years, just the way that my life has unfolded for me has been a lot of change, and a lot of change in a good way. So yeah, husband, cats, nieces, nephews.
Husband since the beginning of time. We got to give you kudos for that.
Okay, I was 16, he was 17 when we met, and yeah, we've basically grown up together in so many ways, and it's kind of a miracle on many levels that we're still together and we still like each other. I tell you, when COVID hit and we were first got told, we were in lockdown and you got to be home all day, every day, that was, for me, it was actually a tiny little bit of a moment going, ooh, how's this going to go? Because we've never been that couple who are attached to the hip, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of people locally that know us both that were surprised that we were married, much less to each other, because they never saw us in the same room at the same time. Yeah. Because we both had very active lives.
I knew you were married forever. I had never seen your husband.
Right, exactly.
Wasn't he on like a cruise ship or something?
Yeah, he was doing cruise ship work for a while, and so he's a professional musician among other things, and he was out and about a lot. So we were never in the same place at the same time. But it turns out that we still like each other. How about that? Amazing. I know, right? I think so lucky.
Also wise enough to create your own spaces. I remember
that helps.
Yeah, and I live alone. And my daughter actually, and that was like right in the beginning. Let's remember how paranoid that was.
Scary.
Like, way before Bubbles. Like, I mean, you isolated.
We were washing our groceries. And,
oh my God, my first birth, like we locked down in March. My birthday's in April.
Mine too. Yeah.
And I can remember getting video calls from my kids and seeing my grandkids in a car. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But my daughter at one point reached out and she said, you know what, Mom, I kind of wish you were in a relationship. And I was like, whoa, interesting. Why? Right. And she said, well, you know, so you wouldn't be alone, that you would have someone there with you. And I started laughing. I said, for his sake, it's probably best I'm alone.
It's for the greater good.
Laughing. Valid point. Rethink that one, honey.
Oh, I know. Yeah, COVID kind of brought home to me that I'm actually an introvert. For someone who spent a fair portion of her life on stage and in front of cameras and microphones, to figure out that, you know, I get my energy and my joy and my strength from being alone or from being, you know, very quiet a lot of the time.
Now, an introverted extrovert?
Something like that, yeah.
Like,
I can be an extrovert when I need to be, but to recharging is all about being quiet and being alone,
100%.
You know, or just with Sean or whatever. But it's just, it's not about. I don't go out to a party in order to feel energy. You know.
100%.
Yeah.
Exact opposite.
Extroverts don't
felt
get that.
Just imagining it. And people who meet me like on stage when I'm doing a seminar or a keynote. Like, and I always laugh that I have my career because I finally realized like I need an entire stage to fit my personality because it is that big. And I finally found a place I could be that big. In fact, I need to be to hold an audience.
Yeah.
But if people knew, and now they will if they watch,
but after,
like right after the seminar, for one, I can barely walk. For whatever reason, the shoes I was wearing for 7 hours standing in front of that audience, in the last 5 minutes, as soon as I say we're done, I realize how uncomfortable they are. So I can barely walk to my room.
Yep.
I am ordering room service.
Yep.
I am not I'm not calling anyone. I'm not texting anyone. I might turn on the TV for some mind-numbing TV.
That's why God gave us Food Network.
I don't want to see, right? I don't. Okay, never Food Network. Millie and I are friends, but there's the one difference. She actually goes into the kitchen on purpose and uses the appliances not for storage. I have a kitchen because it came with my apartment.
Oh, girl.
I walked through it on the way to the bathroom. So, but we're still friends. I watch her posts every now and then, and it's like, that does look amazing, and I'm so glad she made it. That's as far as that's going.
Oh man! But that point where the event is over, you close the door behind you, and you kind of go, oh.
100%.
That it's like
100%.
It's that taking the bra off moment.
Yeah. Right. And I live alone, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I think it is the perfect counterbalance to my career. The fact that I'm putting out a video every single day, I'm putting out, and living alone is my taking in. Sitting under the cat, like we were talking about before we turned the recording under, is my taking in. Yeah. Watching another training video or motivational video, and I know some people just groaned. I love that because it feels like I'm taking in as opposed to giving out. I'm filling up again, filling up the cup.
Yeah.
We're finally going to get off introductions, but I'm going to take 2 seconds to explain who I am.
Please.
Only 38 minutes on introduction. Welcome to our podcast.
Oh, man.
So, Mishko Paganang Quain edition of Mungdodem. My name is Sandy Boucher. What I just said in Ojibwe is that I am Red Spirit Woman of the Loon Clan. I am a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory in Northern Ontario, and I am 110% Indigenous Canadian reconciliation. So I'm an author and a speaker and a trainer and a consultant. Anything that supports both sides of that feather is the analogy I use. So I work with non-Indigenous people to help them understand where they might be working at becoming their own worst enemy with the phrasing they use
Mm.
or the processes they use that are really going to be uncomfortable in a cross-cultural relationship with Indigenous peoples, or I'm in First Nation communities doing empowerment. So, which is a perfect lead in to why I wanted to do this podcast. And then I'm going to turn it over to Millie as to explain why she agreed with me, why she agreed to go on this journey with me.
All right.
So for me, it was really rooted in my work. So long before I morphed into the reconciliation work, I was all about empowerment. If you watch my very first videos, they were all about the empowerment of women.
Mm-hmm.
And I now know at like a deep base level that so many First Nation communities and nations were matriarchal. The women were the ones who ran the nations. And that's not a power thing. That's like, if you look at the Haudenosaunee, which in English is the Iroquois, if you look at their nations, they had grandmother councils. And what they believe and still believe to this day is that only a mom or a grandmother could decide if an issue was serious enough for her son to die. Serious enough to send the warriors out. And that's why the women, they were matriarchal, because the women understood the price, right? They understood the price tag. But I always say, imagine, and I use an Elmer Fudd cartoon when I talk about the settlers arriving. Because in my mind, welcome to the way
I be a little insulted on behalf of white people.
He's out there in the bush doing his thing.
Or on behalf of people with speech impediments. Or it's Daffy Duck.
Well, I just thought, you know what? Instead of making him look like some dark bad guy, he's just here doing his thing, right? He's not really aware of what's going on, but
and that's probably the bigger part of it. Yeah, it's the lack of awareness and self-awareness. But that's
what I always imagined. And if you thought you were laughing before, wait till you hear this.
Okay, I'm gonna put my.
I always imagine this little settler dude coming into his first like matriarchal Indigenous community, and seeing the women in charge with strong voices, running things. And the only thing that goes through his mind is, my wife must never meet these women. Right? Because think of Europe at that time. Wife, look pretty, don't say anything, stay in the other room until I need you. Right?
Yes, very much so.
So what happened is it became part of colonization is to destroy that matriarchal system. They put the treaties in the name of the men.
Yeah.
They refused to negotiate with the women, and they taught our men how to hate us. And that's missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, right?
God.
So for me, it was at a deep level. I believe the empowerment of women, and specifically Indigenous women, ties into my reconciliation work. That until we're at a point where we're not talking over people, I'm not talking about attacking, I'm not talking about aggression, but I'm talking about confidence and self-determination and assertiveness. So, and the other thing, because it's you, I know that I was one of those women or one of those Indigenous people that really didn't believe for a long time that I could ever just be me in an Indigenous, non-Indigenous relationship. Obviously, I don't believe that anymore, or it would make me the biggest hypocrite going, and I wouldn't be able to do my work. But I thought with us, I know our relationship and the way we laugh and goof off, and even when we're talking about serious things. And I thought, what a perfect example to show people that I'm not less of who I am because I'm talking to you. Like, it's the same, and it is possible. So that's why I wanted to do the podcast.
Well, now I am honored, like truly, that you feel that level of comfort with me, because I'm just an average white chick, you know. And I was raised in Canada. You know, I did not learn about residential schools in my education as a Canadian kid. You know, I came from a very white, very Christian background, and my interactions with what at the time we called Native people were
Yeah.
very surface and
Yeah.
very just othered. These are other people. These are not our people. These are not people that we need to concern ourselves with so much because we've got our own thing and they've got their own thing. And so for me, I mean, this to some degree, this is an educational opportunity for me. But at the same time, I don't want this to be a burden on you to, let's educate the white person, because that is so much of what Indigenous
Well,
people.
I'm going to have you.
I know you're going to anyway. And I'm okay with that. It's good, because if by doing that, then we can kind of put these things out there in a way that. And I don't want to cater to white people in that sense either, because we've had enough time to get our shit together. Stuff together.
That's okay.
We'll let that one slide. But to get our stuff together and start thinking about, these are human beings that have been treated horribly systemically for a very long time, and it's not about what we feel about things. White people are very good about, especially white middle-aged women, are very good at making things about how they feel about something, right? So I don't want this to be about how I feel about things, because I can do that in so many other places. But if you and I can kind of get things out there in a way that both sides of the feather can be comfortable listening to the conversations and acknowledging where they've got things to learn. Maybe we can do a little bit of good in the world. And you know what? That's not a bad thing.
Not at all. And I am about to blow you away. So hang on to your gift for a second.
I was a little afraid, because I'm not sure what you're going to come up with.
No, it's a good thing. It's 110% a good thing.
All right.
The way you just described your upbringing, and specifically when you said they got their stuff to worry about and we got our stuff to worry about. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Have you ever seen the two-row wampum? The image?
Maybe. I mean, I'm familiar with the idea of wampum, that's a beaded belt.
Yeah. So, and the one I always use is actually a beaded representation of a treaty. For one, that's what the wampum belts are.
Okay.
And two, the one I always use is actually between the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, and the Dutch. And it's a white belt, and it has two navy blue strips in it.
Okay.
So it represents the Iroquois' interpretation of what they thought they were agreeing to. Okay. Are you ready for this? One of the strips of the navy blue beads was to represent the Iroquois ships. The other one was to represent the European ships. Mm-hmm. And they thought they were agreeing that we will share this land. You do you. We'll do us. So, you run your communities your way. We'll run our ways. You have things you have to focus on. Yeah. We have things we have to focus on. We won't interrupt or overpower each other. So now we know that's not how it turned out.
No.
The way you just described your upbringing means you were actually living the original intent of the treaty.
Holy cow.
Right?
Go figure.
If I could get the people I work with just to get that one point, quit worrying about what's happening in our communities. Yes, there's reparations to be paid and support that's needed to undo the damage that was done to us. But how we govern ourselves should not be someone else's concern. That's up to us to fix.
Well, that's that whole savior thing. The government is going to come in and help.
100%.
God help us all. But that whole idea of that Indigenous communities need fixing from outside.
Yeah.
Right.
And even now, the pressure to understand everything. Humility, I'll own, is one of our teachings, right? Humility is huge to me. I am so totally comfy with owning that I don't understand a whole bunch of stuff. Gonna go with stuff. And that doesn't diminish me in any way. Yeah. But I see from my Indigenous lens that many in mainstream, they now have this pressure on themselves. They must understand all things Indigenous in Canadian history. It's when do you have time to do that? If you want to understand, right? If you want to understand how to work with us, here's a novel idea. Talk to us.
Yeah, right.
Ask us what works, right?
Yeah.
Right. Which is back to our professional relationship together. Mm-hmm. And just for the audience, I've worked with other financial planners and it didn't work. whether it was being talked down to, or they just assumed I understood things, or I
Mhm.
shouldn't bother myself and just let them handle it, none of which made me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Not when you're working your tush off to try to get ahead financially. I need to understand. I don't need to understand it enough to manage it myself, but please let me in on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Millie is amazing at giving me the details I need without, for one, never talking down to me, which I
Yeah.
love. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, thank you.
And explaining, like I can say, okay, I don't know what that means. Oh, that's okay. I'm used to these terms. Here, let me
Oh,
explain it
yeah.
to you.
Yeah, my
Right?
old podcast, I had a whole 2-part episode on all the acronyms that are floating around in financial services, and there's a lot of them, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And I can have an entire conversation with a colleague with only very few English words in there because
Yeah.
we're just talking in letters. But yeah, I mean, what you're saying is something I feel really strongly about, and I'm not sure if your experience has been because you're Indigenous or because you're a woman, and probably
Or
it's a little
both.
bit of both.
Yeah.
You know that
Intersectionality.
yeah, it's that whole,
analysis, yeah.
you know, don't worry your pretty little head over it. The boys will take care of things, or Prince Charming is going to come and save you, and you don't have to worry about things like money. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to
Yeah.
be comfortable with it. And that attitude drives me batty. Like of all industries out there, finance is known for being male, pale, and stale. And you know, it's old white guys in
There's a
suits.
quote. I've never heard that one before, but
Feel
yeah,
free.
don't talk down to me. If you're
Yeah.
managing my money, I was smart enough to earn it.
That's
So
right.
don't,
It's not,
right?
as the advisor, as the consultant, it's not my money, you know, to make decisions with. It's my responsibility to give you good advice and to tell you, okay, this is what I think you should do based on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's your decision in the end. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I've had clients that have made financial decisions that I couldn't stand by. And I said, you know, if you're going to do this, okay, it's your money. You can do what you want, but we can't work together anymore if
Wow.
you're not going to take the advice that I give you, right? So
Yeah.
it's got to be,
Which makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
want
it's
to
got to
be
be a professional
talking to a
relationship.
wall, right?
No,
But
exactly.
on the other hand, you also understand their goals. So if it's going against
Yeah.
their goals, it doesn't even make sense.
That's right.
And I don't want to put Millie on the spot here, but for the audience sake,
Hmm.
I think we can both say that we're in a successful, stable, whatever place in our lives.
Yeah, pretty much.
Achieved a few things, not achieved it all, but we're getting there.
Bills are
But
getting paid.
and again, I don't want to speak for Millie, but I know she wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth.
Nope.
And neither have I. And a lot of people make that assumption. But I was raised in a house that didn't have indoor plumbing. We didn't have running water.
Yeah.
I have sold furniture to feed my kids. I have been homeless. I can remember, well, for one, until you've had to melt snow to take a bath, then you have
Yeah.
no flipping idea how much snow that takes. And it's like an 8-hour
It's a lot.
endeavor. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I've heated water on a stove. One time I used the stove so that my kids could bathe, because even when I was married, our utilities got cut off. So
Yeah.
I'm in a great place now, and I love my life. And I love that you used that phrase earlier. It's like, that's why we're friends. We love our lives.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it like it's easy or whatever. I'm just very conscious of where I started. And I think my mom has every right to reach down and slap me if I wasn't grateful for what I have
Yeah.
now. Right?
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think gratitude is a big part. It should be a big part, and this is going to sound weird, but of your financial plan as well, right? So, you know, respecting the work that you've put in to accumulate whatever it is that you've accumulated, and respect for yourself, and be grateful for the fact that you have the ability to make more and save more, and just
Yeah.
and approaching the way that you manage your money with that in mind. Because it's not all about more in my mind, right?
Well, and that's what I was
It's
just
about
thinking.
enough.
I think when you're really impoverished, and I've definitely been there,
Yeah.
there are many mores you need.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like just the comfort. Like, by the way, guys, if you're still struggling there, for one, my heart goes out to you. I know what it's like. I don't envy where you are, and that is not a judgment of where you are.
Yep.
I
You are where
also
you
know
are.
how much energy goes into worrying about paying the rent, worrying about the
Yeah.
car payment, where you're going to get money from at the end of the month. That freedom, to me, I was going to ask you if you had to use another word for success. And for
Mhm.
me, success is freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from that stress. And I can now safely say you get to a point where you don't need more.
Yeah.
Like I don't have all these fancy things because not important to me. I
Yeah.
don't need them. Right?
Yeah.
Like you can just not shop.
Yes, it's
Right?
getting well, there's a concept, right? Well, it's getting to it's getting yourself to that place where, yeah, you know you've got a roof over your head. You know
Yeah.
you've got hot water and electricity and a
Yep.
warm house, and you've got
100%.
enough clothes to wear, even if they're not, you know, the fanciest ever. A lot of it's crap anyway. But
My clothes
that
are.
no, it doesn't even count.
It's one of my priorities. That's all that is. But
yeah, but just knowing that the basics are there,
yeah,
you know you're going to eat
yeah,
tonight,
yeah,
right? And just having that knowledge, it takes so much pressure off and so
yeah,
much stress off of a person to know that. And
yeah,
yeah, when you get to that point, then everything else is kind of gravy. It's like, you know, you get to take a vacation, which is awesome, you
yeah,
know, but at the same time, you could easily do without it and still be happy,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
So,
it's nice to have, but you don't have to have it. And
well,
it's,
and for me, and I think so many women are going to identify with this, for the longest time, I feared losing things. Like
yeah,
someone could take it away from me. Like
yeah.
I might have my apartment, but if I didn't have enough money, it could be taken away from me.
Hmm.
And when you, with the help of people like Millie, and you've established your career and you have your skills now
Yeah.
and you have advisors that help you in the areas you don't understand,
Hmm.
you get to a point where, like, I just did a video on it. Like, I've been knocked down so many times, I no longer doubt my ability to get back up.
Likewise.
It's just right. It's
Yeah.
just not a fear. Like this was to all crash and burn. Started from zero before.
We'll figure
Right.
out something else because
Lockdown
we've done it
didn't do
before.
us right.
Yeah.
Lockdown didn't do us in. My business
Yeah.
is now stronger than ever because of it. And I realize a lot of
Yeah.
people suffered during that. I was not one of those people
Yeah.
because I chose, I'm not giving up. I'm not losing my business. I'm going to get innovative and I'm going to figure out a way to do this, which was
Pivot.
go online.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Pivot. And
Yeah.
I saw, in my opinion, and of course, just from my lens, the people that didn't make it didn't pivot.
Yeah.
They wanted to do it the way they'd always done. And it's like, but the environment's changed.
Exactly. They
That's
kept
like,
waiting for
I
things
want
to
to
go
keep
back
wearing
to
my
normal.
shorts. Yeah. I want to keep wearing my shorts in January. Okay. This year you probably could have, but
Yeah.
like, right. It's you adapt with the environment, with what's changing.
Yeah.
And if you get stuck in your ways, and I mean that
Yeah.
old myth that you get older, you get stuck in your ways. No, we just know what
There's
works,
yeah, exactly. There's some truth to
right?
that in the sense of, yeah, there's certain things that I will no longer compromise on,
100%.
right?
Likewise. But
Because
that's
I know
because
what
I know
works
what
for
works
me,
for me. Yeah.
right?
Like I wasted enough years with that
Yes,
insanity, right? Not doing
exactly.
that anymore. So hopefully we've highlighted what we hope to accomplish. Just
Did
sharing
we?
our experiences, our outlook on, like, well, you said about powering people, helping
Yeah.
people. I definitely like the one thing I love about our relationship, about you, is the fact that 110% Millie is real. Real. This is Millie. This is the Millie you'd see in a restaurant. This is the Millie performing. This is Millie. And
Because I
to
don't have the
me,
energy to be anything else.
likewise.
I just
I don't have the
you get
memory.
tired.
And I know that's cliche, but I don't have the memory to
Just
remember
don't.
who I was pretending to be. Like I just sorry,
Exactly.
I just can't. Um, but I think, and this is just my perspective again, when you're talking about a cross-cultural relationship where I know you were raised and you're looking at the world differently,
Hmm.
being real and authentic is the comfort that I need. It's like, okay, she is different than me, but she's also exactly this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people conversational English, be who you are, because anybody on the planet can pick up when someone's not being real.
Yeah.
And that doesn't build bridges. That's like, why? Who are they pretending to be? Why are they pretending to be someone? Like, who are they really?
Mhm.
That's not how you build the bridge, right?
No.
So, yeah. I did want to share, as we're coming, we did an hour, girl. I love you.
All right. Right back at you, babe.
So the 4, I just did a video called The Power of 4. 4 shows up over and over and over again in Anishinaabe culture. The 4 seasons, the 4 directions, our 4 sacred medicines, the 4 life stages, baby, youth, adult, and elder, the 4 parts of being, your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health. 4 just resonates. So
Yeah.
I thought it'd be really cool if all future episodes, this one we I think we pulled it off, have 4 key parts to it. So first, we're going to introduce ourselves and remind you, what we're doing this for and who we are and what we bring to the table. The second thing, Millie and I have already discussed that every podcast episode, I can do English, honest, has a theme. And some of the themes are, it's never too late, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not feeling empowered now, don't worry, we got you. We'll give you some ideas on that.
Yeah.
That silence feeds shame.
Yes.
I think we both shared some things today that maybe aren't just spoken openly, but guess what? When you do speak them, their power goes away,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So considering the source,
Mhm.
and we're going to have a good conversation on that. When someone's got that advice for you, or you felt the need to Google or YouTube something, we're going to talk about that. And we're even going to talk about having a vision and how important is that if you're doing your future planning.
Mhm.
So our introduction, then we're going to have a discussion on whatever the theme is for that episode. Then I didn't tell Millie about this part, so hopefully she's okay with it.
You've been on a creative roll this weekend, haven't you? My goodness.
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have. So we did talk about one.
All right.
I didn't keep her totally in the dark here, guys. I don't know if that's terrible.
Luckily for you, I can roll with things,
Exactly. And she knows me. Like none of this is a surprise to Millie.
Nope,
So if you guys are worried about her,
we're good.
She's good. She'd be like, "What again? Really?" But anyways, for one, and this was your idea, Millie, was that every episode we're going to have a book recommendation. Yes. Whether it's something we're reading now or something that we just think, holy moly's, this changed my life. You got to go read it. So we're definitely going to do that. The one part I didn't ask Millie about, which I hope she agrees. I don't know about you, Millie, but are you into quotes? Like, do you like quotes?
I do like quotes, yes. I mean, I was actually trying to think of a good one to come up with for today, and I didn't. But yeah, I'm one of these, I've got Post-its. Post-its. So
if I turn the camera right now, I have a roll full of Post-it notes. So and
I
that's
used to
what
have
I thought.
More up than I used to have more up, but I still do have a few. And yes, I'm more than willing to kind of start pulling those out and discussing them, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, if a quote that you might have had on your bulletin board for years, as you get older and life changes and things change, you find it might resonate a little bit differently than it did.
Or it doesn't resonate at all.
Or it doesn't resonate at all. Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely had that happen. I kind of just decluttered my Post-it notes this weekend. And I was like, why was that here?
Because it made sense at the time. And I think that's one of the things that we have to realize about ourselves and for ourselves is that things change. And one of the things I really like to tell clients when we're having these conversations about, what they did with their money in the past, and they're ashamed of it and they're feeling bad about things. It's like, okay, you know what? That's the person you were then, that you did the best you could with the information that you had at the time. And that's all anybody can do. And that's all we can do. So, you know better, you do better, but don't beat yourself up for what happened in the past.
My mom used to get so mad at me when I did that. I can remember once, and my mom didn't get mad often, but holy moly's, when she did, you paid attention because that's scary. And I was like in my 40s, and I commented on something I did when I was 17, and something along the lines of, "Was that ever stupid?" And holy moly's, all of a sudden you see the look on her face and you know trouble. I just
What have I
crossed the
done?
line I didn't know I was crossing.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and said, "Don't you dare judge 17-year-old you with 42-year-old wisdom. Don't
Right?
you dare." She
Exactly.
didn't know that. She did what she thought was smart with what she knew.
That's
Now
right.
you know different. In the same way, I always tell people I'm a absolutely perfect 59-year-old Sandy. I know so much more than I did at 29, and nothing compared to what I'll know at 69 or 79.
Yeah.
My only job is to keep growing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh.
So, what I would love to do, whether it's a quote we've had forever or one that caught our attention since the last episode, we're definitely going to have a quote for you. So,
Okay.
it's not just us empowering the audience. We're going to bring in the resources that we use that help us, because I think one of the reasons Millie and I are real, and I mean, I don't know, there might be 100 reasons why you're real, but we started from very humble beginnings, and we may have so much more now, but we're still those humble people. Like, I have what I have because 100 people believed in me before I did. Right. And I think because of my humility, I was smart enough to realize I know nothing about managing my money. I better find someone who does. Or I know nothing about cooking, so I better get really good at skip the dishes. Right. So, like, you know yourself. And like we touched on earlier, it's not only knowing yourself, but accepting who you are, like, and knowing this,
and being
there's
okay
nothing
with
wrong with this. Like that. I will never like cooking. I've had so many people offer to teach me, and it's like, no thanks, because it's just not an interest of mine, and that's right. So that doesn't have to be a requirement. And actually, back to the fact that I'm single, I use it as a really good, like a short listing
for
technique.
sure.
You know, when some guy's interested,
if he's
and
just
like,
looking
"So,
for a maid and a cook,
will you make me dinner?" It's like, "What would you like me to order?"
Yeah, exactly.
I could totally do that. If you're not okay with that, well,
oh my goodness, I love that. All right,
hun. So this is the first.
I think we should wrap this up, because otherwise we're just there's this has been a lot.
This is the last thing I want to say. So this is the new Path podcast, and you noticed, like, if you were following the old Path, you knew that Path was an acronym that we used in the reconciliation journey. It still is. It just stands for different things, and we're not going to tell you what that is yet. You actually have to watch the next couple of episodes because we will explain what we came up with for the PATH acronym. Thank you so much for joining me, Millie. You are a blast as always.
Thank you, right back. Love doing this. I'm so much looking forward to seeing where we can take these conversations. It's going to be great.
Yay. Have an amazing day, you. Bye-bye, everyone.